And good evening. This is the Tech Travel Geeks podcast. And this evening, I'm joined again by Lukasz. Good evening, Lukasz. How are you?
Hi, Matteo. I'm great. How are you doing today?
Good, good. It's a nice sunny day in Edinburgh, and so I've closed myself in a room to record a podcast.
Perfect.
So, this evening, we're joined by one of our friends from multiple tech events, someone who's on the circuit and really knows his stuff about consumer electronics, but also a particular area of consumer electronics. Please welcome. Sorry, was that me or was that you?
No, that's me. Sorry.
Okay. You're editing this episode. Sorry. Please welcome to the Tech Travel Geeks podcast, Ricky West. Good evening, Ricky.
Good evening. Hi, Matteo. Hi, Lukasz. I hope you're both well.
We are. Thanks for joining us and chatting about, well, what we're all very passionate about, consumer electronics, in particular mobile. And more importantly, we would like to introduce you, Ricky, to our audience. So tell us, who is Ricky West?
I'm just, first of all, the one thing that completely different about most other people is that I'm severely sight impaired, which is actually classed as registered blind. So when I look at technology, I look at it as a very different type of view as what most other journalists will do. So it's just about looking at technology and seeing how accessible it is for everyone, no matter their ability in life.
That's great. And that's a very, very important subject, one that we're very aware of, both in our professional lives and in our Tech Travel Geeks coverage. It is a very important subject. And you're not the first guest on the podcast who has mentioned accessibility. Accessibility being the range of services and features on devices which enable its use by more than just people with what is considered a standard set of skills or perceptory channels. So, Ricky, when you speak about accessibility, obviously you mentioned the visual impairments are what make you, let's say, a subject matter expert in the area. And how do you interact with these devices, which are usually designed for visually rich experiences?
It's very different. What I do is, first of all, when I first get a device, sounds quite weird. You touch it to make sure you can identify. Sometimes the home button is different compared to the volume rockers. So that's nice to identify. You'll identify where certain ports are as well and what them ports are. Okay, I do have some vision that I can see them. But also, it's nice to identify by touch. And then moving onto a device and actually enjoying a device, you look through the accessibility settings, which majority of companies are really good at putting them in, especially on iOS and Android platform. So you have a whole range of options there, and there are a load of options, no matter your ability or the actual ease of access you may need, depending if you just need a slight help with, say, large print, or you want to zoom in on something. For people that their sight is deteriorated due to age, or their hearing is deteriorated due to age again, it's there to help people no matter what. And that's what I like to try and highlight when I look at my videos and look at technology.
Awesome. That's really good. And just going by a device that we were both at the launch of in Paris, how did you find the buttons on the Huawei P30 Pro?
So sadly, the buttons on the P30 Pro are both the same texture between the power and the volume. But if you do look, there is a hint of red or pink to the power button. So there is a color difference there. So if you can perceive color and can see the color, there is a difference in color. Obviously, you can buy some cases that have a textural difference as well. Or you could put a marker on it, or I know other people that put little bumps on it or stickers on it to help them identify. But I'm glad that they have still actually kept this color sort of flexion in it. But they did used to have a textural difference when they first started making devices. So it's a shame that they've actually pulled away from a texture difference.
Does size matter? Like one is usually bigger than the other. Does that help you?
Yeah, this is very true. Size is different. Like your volume keys are normally larger, and I prefer volume keys that are on a rocker, because then if you go near the top, you're pressing volume up, and if you go near the bottom, you're pressing volume down instead of two separate ones. Obviously, the power key is quite small, and I did find it even smaller on this device as well. Seems a little bit smaller than compared to normal.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Matteo, you're on mute.
Sorry. And so before the show, Ricky, you mentioned that you have been working on an accessibility video about the Huawei P30 Pro.
Yes, I have. So I've just finished a detailed video where I go through every single feature and ability that is on the device. And one little letdown is that they like to hide it in multiple different areas. This is quite frustrating. Some brands put it all in one area. So for me, Samsung are really good as they put it in all one dedicated area and everything is there. But people like Huawei and LG especially, iPhone even do it as well. Apple do it with their iPhones. They actually separate these settings into different sections that they should be under, but I believe they should be all in accessibility, making it easier for everyone to find. And the only other thing I would really ask is that the companies actually put it closer to the top of the menu as well, not bury it down below or quite low, which can be frustrating for people to find.
Yeah.
But when you sort of look through the settings, there are multiple different settings for people with vision, people that have hearing impairment, people that have dexterity and interaction impairment, which is really good and really improving. Then obviously there are multiple different settings in them different sections that you can change and adjust and hopefully make the phone accessible to you no matter what.
That's very good. And so, obviously, you mentioned iOS has them relatively accessible for changing settings. And is VoiceOver something that you use regularly?
I use it regularly, and I've seen it in use, and I test it every time I use the phone because obviously you have on iOS it's called VoiceOver, and on Android it's called TalkBack. And I believe the TalkBack service is slightly better and it's improved over time than what has VoiceOver on iOS and iPhone. So TalkBack is a system where it will talk back everything to you on your display, no matter what you touch and highlight. And then obviously there's a different option as well. I'm not too sure if you know of Select to Speak. Gives you a different option where it will only speak back to you when you actually touch it, which I think is a clever idea. And I've used that again, because sometimes with these devices, when you have a low amount of RAM, it can actually impact on the actual speed and the way it works. I've found as well with some devices that don't have enough power and performance can actually inhibit the talkback feature.
Yes, I agree. As I've done testing on features that need to be accessible. It was part of the definition of done in some of the projects I've worked on. And yes, TalkBack has historically had issues with memory leaks. It actually can crash the whole stack, or it could in the past. But I have to say, in the last 3 years, since 2016, it has come leaps and bounds because it's been baked into the operating system rather than being a service built on top of Android. It's actually baked in now.
Yeah.
So yes, it's been improving, but it can always improve. And as you mentioned, some lower powered devices will struggle. But as we move forward, as what is going to be currently defined as a lower powered device is the equivalent of a flagship of a few years ago now. So gradually this issue is going away. Have you noticed a noticeable difference in the last few years in TalkBack?
Yes, I have. Obviously, I'm very privileged and feel very humbled to receive a lot of devices to review and test. And I do go through them. And obviously, you have models that are their high range flagship models, and then you have models that are lower range, and then you have the lower entry levels. I find majority of the time back in 2016, 2015, like we was just talking, that TalkBack would fail after about 3 applications opening. It just was beginning to get slow. It was just unusable. And I've seen a great improvement there. Then moving into the mid-range as well, you can open up to 15 to 20 applications and still have a working device that I previously tested just 2 weeks ago that was mid-range, and that was the Sony Xperia 10 device. And then obviously moving into a flagship like the Huawei P30 Pro, I opened over 30 applications and it was still running okay. And I thought that was really impressive to still manage to work and function as a device without it having, like you said there, losing the memory and then it slipping or crashing the device. Sometimes back when I first started in 2014, it used to crash the devices all the time if you open too many applications.
Yeah. That's the good thing about something like Android. It's constantly improving, and I'd say iOS as well. But it's particularly noticeable on Android on how quickly these things improve, and also how, from my perspective, how easy they make it for developers to actually leverage the service and to more easily label features and buttons in the apps to make them more easily accessible, regardless of what type of screen reader or visual assistant you have for the devices.
Yeah, no, definitely. Even like the quick access is good as well. That's more functionable, which is really nice to have, and it works so well as well now. In the past, it didn't used to work. You had to go through multiple different menus to turn that on first before you could use it, and I found that a little bit frustrating. Now that you can just press the buttons and like you can, I think it's preset to talk back, so you can use that to then navigate to where you need to, but you can also change that to multiple different options.
And do you use voice assistants?
I use. Oh, do you mean in Google and Siri, or do you mean
Google, Siri, Alexa, all the ones I'll need to edit out in post because we don't want people's speakers setting off.
Yes, I do. I find Google Assistant more easy to use for me. I think iOS still needs a massive improvement. Behind Apple, they have a great idea. They have so many products that it's now integrated with. I just think it needs still an improvement. Either Android, Google Assistant. I use Alexa. I've got Alexas all over. I'm sorry for setting everything off. But again, I still go to Google Assistant. I still prefer that system and that setup. Like if I'm tired at night, I could just say, "Oh, set an alarm for me," and it's preset and it's nice and easy. Yes, iOS has done this, but it's taken a long time to sort of build that interaction into the menu and the deep learning that it needed. It's actually not there, and there's still some stuff that you can't do, which is just frustrating. Like finally, they've brought in the accessible features where you can turn the brightness up and down. It will take you to where you need to go to change the accessibility, but that's only in the last couple of iOS updates that you've had that. So that's disappointing because obviously I class that as deep integration, and I think it should be there from the beginning.
Yeah. And so you mentioned you've got Alexa around the house. Are there any particular services that you use on Alexa that make your life better? Do you pay for something like, say, Audible, or what are your favorite skills and services there?
Alexa's great. Any general question that I may have, like if I have anything in my planner, it's linked, so I know. Obviously, I will use it for alarms for when I'm cooking. It's a really good tool for me because obviously I can't see the cooker light or the cooker timer, sorry. So I'll just say, Alexa, set an alarm. And obviously that'll do an alarm for me while I'm cooking my dinner. Obviously I can play music, which I listen to multiple different stations thanks to TuneIn. Then obviously I do have Audible and I can sit back and listen to a book because I can't actually read a book. It will just give me an instant headache and I have to bring it so close to my eyes. It's just easier to sit back and enjoy an Audible book.
Yeah, I've been an Audible listener for years. I love listening to audiobooks. And it's a great service. Full disclosure, we are not sponsored by Audible yet. But that is our aspiration. Like many other podcasts, Audible know that the audience is definitely one that consumes their content via audio, whether it's audiobooks, podcasts, radio programs. It's a good audience to sponsor. So if you're listening, Audible, feel free to reach out. techtravelgeeks.com. So Ricky, no, that's great. What type of books do you listen to on Audible?
So currently I'm a big Game of Thrones fan and we're coming up to the final season and I wanted to actually go through the books. So I'm listening through the books. So I've started on them and then I've gone through some crime and history ones as well as Sherlock Holmes. I think I've got quite a wide genre of different things that I listen to. And it's nice that you can just sit back and relax. Or if I'm traveling, I'm currently traveling quite a lot. So I can just sit back, download it to my device and just travel And actually, instead of just listening to the same old songs over again in your albums, you're actually getting to learn something, and you're getting drawn into a book, which I really like.
That's great to hear. I'm a big Audible fan. Lukasz, how about you? Have you been using Audible?
Not much, to be honest. I'm pretty busy with YouTube. If I need some instructional videos, I use YouTube mostly, and most of my content I prefer video. Recently, maybe 5 years of philosophy studies hurt me, and after that, after reading so much that during that time, I had to wind down on reading. So I mostly read, mostly watch videos. I've not used too many audiobooks though, so
Okay,
I think I need to come back to it.
You're a Game of Thrones fan, aren't you, Lukasz?
Yeah, next week, I think, yeah, or this Sunday maybe, the new season is coming. I watched a few summaries of last 7 seasons to remind myself who's who. So yeah, that's exciting.
Well, as Ricky was saying, there's some very good Audible books of the Song of Ice and Fire, the series of Game of Thrones, narrated by an actor called Roy Dotrice. He does a very good set of voices of all characters in Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. It's really an amazing performance, as well as the book in its unabridged form. So if you do decide to subscribe to our Audible, I recommend those books. Ricky, would you recommend them?
Definitely. And anything read by Stephen Fry as well. I found him a very interesting person to listen to.
Yes.
Audiobooks.
Stephen Fry is also very passionate about audiobooks, reads quite a few of them. There's a series of very good and talented actors and actresses who reads Audible audiobooks, as well as the authors themselves. Often when you have the author reading an audiobook, I find that it gives it a bit more credibility in the sense that they know where to put emphasis on sentences, they know when to make the important points, which is always good fun. So yeah, that's great. So you use the voiceover assistants, you use talkback personal assistants that don't reside on iOS and Android. When you use a PC, how does that work for you, Ricky?
So currently at the moment, I am Mac-based, so with the OS, because I use it for video editing. I prefer the systems for video editing, like iMovie and Final Cut Pro. I actually use Zoom tools that Mac has built in, which are very simple and easy to do. I just zoom into my content, or I use rather a large display and get quite close to it so I can see it. I just change and adapt my life depending on what I need to do. And I'm quite adaptable in the sense of I know what I need to change, so that's okay, and I can understand that. But then obviously I like to help other people. I'll get a comment saying, "Oh, how did you do this?" or "How did you do that?" Like today, for instance, I received a comment on, is it possible to make the Huawei P Smart 2019 have dark menu option? And obviously I like helping with comments like that. So when I see a comment like that, I'll research it and sort of really delve in and try and help that person out. So again, I just change. Obviously, at the moment, I'm currently using a 32-inch monitor, which helps because my MacBook is only 13-inch, so it's quite small. So I'll basically always look at the monitor compared to looking at the MacBook.
That's very good. And is VoiceOver pretty much the same as it is on iOS?
To be honest, I don't really use it because I use the Zoom service. So,
okay.
So to be honest, because I zoom into everything and have everything very large prints, I don't actually use it. I know it's on there. I haven't actually tested it in the last update to OS Mojave. So it'd be interesting to take a look and see what it's actually like in that form factor. But I know Windows accessibility is slightly more ahead of Apple's from what I've seen and heard from other people. So
very good. So chance to review something of that coming up then?
Yeah, no, definitely. I want to take a look at a Windows computer and see how well that they've changed and sort of made it more possible for everyone to use a computer again.
On the subject of helping, we have a question from one of our friends of the show, Chris, from Movies, Games, and Tech. He's asking whether you ever get a chance to speak to the companies, to like Huawei, to other mobile companies, and discuss with them accessibility and what can be improved. Do you ever get chances to do that?
Yeah, I do. When I go to these events, we are in front of people that can get in front of other people and let people know, especially after I was in charge. I wasn't in charge. I was talking to people that were actually design the phone and design the software. And I sort of said to them that you could do this, you could do that. And I like to put my point across because as I am a person with a disability, I think they will potentially listen a little bit more and actually will take my advice on board. And obviously with Huawei, I've had a few travels with them and I've had a few devices from them. And I hope they take my feedback on board, which I know they will because they always ask for it. Their press team does, and I hope their press team passes that on. But when I go to events, I do actually get to speak to these people that have a little bit more power and a little bit more clout. And they could actually pass it on, which is a good thing. And I hope they do. And I hope they do change the devices to make it possible for everyone to use.
That's amazing. And do you get a chance to speak to any software companies, either app developers or website developers?
I'm currently in talks with Google at the moment to try and sort of help to see what they can improve and change. Because obviously, I think they've spotted one of my videos and they've contacted me to see what can be helped and changed and improved in the future, which is a very good thing. If they're especially pulling someone on with my visual impairment, I don't want to just push the visual impairment side. I want to push all different abilities, no matter what it is, to actually make it possible. Again, like I said, I keep going back to this point, making it possible for everyone to use a smartphone. Because obviously, sat next to me now, I've got two great smartphones, but not everyone can use them because they don't know about these features, or them features are not on there yet to make it possible for them to use. And I just want everyone, I have such a passion for technology and then obviously the accessibility side. I just want everyone to get hold of these phones and use them.
Yeah, that's really good. I was just talking to someone the other day, and they suggested that disabilities sometimes even can improving for people with disabilities helps also others with no disabilities, because if you're holding something, you are one-handed basically for a time, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Or if it's dark, your vision is impaired because you can't see everything. So improving things for you improves things for everyone else as well.
Definitely. It's not just for people with an accessibility need. It's for people like yourself there at night time. We have eye comfort control. That doesn't just help people with an eyesight condition. That helps millions of other users use their device and not actually get damaged from the harmful blue light. You have like dark modes, which I am really begging everyone to put a full dark mode in. I think this is the year that we are going to see it from iOS and Android. I really hope so. Samsung have really done a good job with theirs. But I think it just needs to be there from the beginning. And all these modes, even most devices now have a simple mode, making it basic and easy to use, just large app icons and very stripped down menu systems. That's a great service, and that's a great option to have as well.
Yeah, our former colleague, he had RP, and he which is a vision impairment, as you will know. And he always used dark mode. Even that was like 5 years ago, which was almost no one heard of it. So he was always suggesting that this should be added. So yeah, definitely, and it even helps you save battery if you have an OLED screen. So everyone wins.
Again, there you go. It helps everyone, doesn't it? If you put on a dark mode, then you do have an OLED panel. It's going to save you loads of battery because you're not naturally lighting up the whole display. You're only lighting up what you need to have.
Yeah.
And do you use dark mode on the Huawei P30 Pro?
Yes, I've got it in dark mode. My one little niggle would be with it is that they've buried it in the wrong option. They've put it in battery. It's good to be in battery. That's fine. I understand why it's in battery. But I also think it should be in accessibility. Because to me, it's a accessibility feature more than what it is just a native saver battery feature. And the Samsung S10 and S10 range is really good. Their dark mode, which is near enough throughout the device. And obviously, Google are planning a sort of full-fledged dark mode I have heard of, and I hope it comes true. Same with iOS 13. Again, I hope it comes true.
Have you been using the latest Android beta on the Pixel 3 or Pixel 3 XL?
No, I don't have it. Do they have it on there?
Yes. So.
Oh, that's great. I'm really pleased to hear that.
I've been using it for the last month now because I'm now on the second beta. And I have to say, it's not perfect yet. Some bits still lack a bit of contrast. For example, you find gray or black text on black background. But it is something that works very well for me.
Oh, that's good. That's really, and it doesn't, because obviously on most devices on Android, you have like an invert color option. Obviously, when you go to your home screen, this inverts every single color.
Yeah, no, this is just throughout the menus, throughout the drop downs, everything.
That's really good. And that's a really good sign that that option is there. And obviously, I will try and get my hands on the Google Pixel and see if I can actually get up to a beta mode on it.
Good. It's a relatively simple setup. You just register your device on the Google beta program, and then it logs in and it works. I would say that that's a good thing. And I haven't played around with TalkBack on Android Q yet. This is the new version of Android, Android 10. But that will be an interesting space.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like I said, each year, that comes out, we normally get slight changes on the settings. I've noticed some stuff's disappeared. Like the high contrast used to be in a beta sort of test. Now it's a full-fledged feature, which is really good. But they've also they've changed color correction. Color correction used to be quite different compared to what it is now. So now it just gives you the options of the color. Used to be where you could actually really tone and change your color. So they do play around with these settings, which I'm really pleased that they do. Because some people just sort of like load it on, then that's it.
Very good. Have you used the KLM website?
No.
No. I'm always a bit in awe of KLM because, in my view, both in their native app and on their website, they seem to be very good at making it as accessible as possible. And it also makes it easier for people who just want to have an easy experience. So they have on their actual website a high contrast toggle because their brand colors are a cyan or light blue and white, which is relatively low contrast, but they have a toggle at the top, which is easily tabbable to, which allows you to go into high contrast mode.
Okay, no, I'll definitely have to have a look at that.
And yeah, it's just one of those things that when it even makes it easier to use the website when you're drunk. I'm just saying that out of personal experience. But yeah, so that's great to hear. And it's good to hear that things are getting better in terms of the major platforms and the major manufacturers are really driving ahead with these improvements. And obviously, you have quite a variety of smartphones. You take great pictures. Going by your Instagram, how do you go about taking pictures? Do you have to focus entirely on the screen, or do you take a sort of more holistic view of what your perception is?
Like, obviously, I went to London previously, and that's where a lot of my recent pictures have come from. To be honest, it will either be I will sit there for a long time, look at the screen, make sure everything's okay, or I'll take about 30 or 40 pictures and I'll go through, oh, that one's okay, that one's a bit blurred, that one's got something in it. I'll then, again, just change and modify what I want to do to make it easier for me. Or sometimes I'll just say, all right, let's see how quick this phone is at taking a quick picture. I know that's the London Eye over there. I'll pull the phone out, take a quick picture, and then I'll have a look at it afterwards and see how well it is. I like to do multiple different things with a phone because obviously these devices are very good at autofocus and very quick. But obviously, I'll just bring the screen closer to me and have a detailed look at the picture and see what it looks like. Obviously, I don't get to see, because my vision is quite bad, if I just take time to explain. So in my left eye, there is just perceives color. So it doesn't actually perceive any detail. Then in the right eye is known as tunnel vision. So I don't have no peripherals. So I can't see from the side of me. This is why I'm always just turning my head to see people, because obviously when you look at someone, you'll see out your peripheral and you could see them without actually having to turn your head. So with tunnel vision it's just a very focal sort of straight column down the eye socket that you can see. So obviously when I'm taking a photograph, I'm looking straight at my screen, and it makes it easier anyway for me to see that. Obviously, if I bring it closer to me, I can zoom in as well, and I can see everything I need to see. And this is one thing I like with the Huawei P30 is the amount of zoom that you have. And you can really zoom in and see everything you want to see. I found it a little bit shaky at the full 50% sort of thing. You actually lose what you're actually trying to get hold of, so you have to come back out and then zoom back in. But it's quite fun just sort of trying to keep your hands still enough to take a photograph. I don't know if you've had the same experience.
You're on mute, Matteo.
Sorry, a rookie mistake here. Yes, I definitely have used the Huawei P30 Pro at 50 times zoom. It is extremely shaky. It's difficult to compensate for, but I took a series of pictures for a show called All About Androids last week in Paris, the day you and the rest of the London crew were fighting to get onto a Eurostar train. I was walking around Paris planting bananas around special historic monuments, and then walking miles to take pictures of them, because we all know that the banana is the universal unit of measurement, banana for scale.
Yeah.
So that was what I was doing. And yes, 50 times zoom on the Huawei P30 Pro is a lot better than I was expecting it to be, but it's difficult to keep the device still.
Yes. Even like I try and hold it with both hands and absolutely stands still as a rock. It's like, it's still a bit shaky, I find. But once you do take a picture, and it does come out okay, and I'm really impressed with it, it is actually weird to feel how far that actually is compared to what you've seen. And especially for me, going that far, I can't see that far. So it became a certain distance, it will become black to me. Everything will become black. So previously, the last weekend, I was at a football tournament. I was doing some coaching, and we went to the stadium afterwards. And I was trying to take pictures of the stadium, and obviously I saw the outline of the pitch and stuff. But when I zoomed in, I could see everything, and it was interesting in that sense as well.
Very good. Yeah, I saw your tweet about you thought your travels were over for a while, and then you were going to Manchester. So, was that a good experience?
No, that wasn't. No, that was Milton Keynes. I don't know Milton Keynes Stadium, because I do, as well as being registered blind and love technology, I also do disability football coaching as well. So,
very good. What does that entail?
So I'm qualified FA Level 1 coach in football. So that means I can teach football and coach football. And that means that I work with two different groups in my local area. There's Risborough Rangers disability team and Smiles disability team. So what I do is go along, coach, and help them learn football. And these people have a multiple range of different disabilities. So it's really interesting as well. I really do a lot of stuff in accessibility and disability area, because it's just a passion that I enjoy doing as well. Because when I was younger, there was nothing. There was nothing for me to do football-wise, and I've always loved playing football, and I want to make sure there's something to do now for everyone that wants to do it.
When we talked in Barcelona, I think you mentioned that it's not only like vision impairment or hearing. You also work with people with like learning difficulties or mental problems. Is that the case?
Yes, yeah. The football teams are made up of anyone. It's like a pan disability. It's called pan disability, which means it's a whole wide range of different disabilities. No matter what your disability is, we try and make football possible for everyone. And that's what a great thing is, that I'm there to actually help do as well. And it's really enjoyable to see people go along and play football that maybe not have the chance to do. And then obviously with the accessibility side on the devices, as you said there, it's not people that just have a vision impairment or a hearing impairment. It's people then that have issues just using their phone as well, that I want to try and help with.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned using a phone. In recent years, we've seen a drop in the size of bezels on phones. Is that creating a bit of an accessibility issue?
To me, when the notch came in, I found that slightly frustrating because obviously we had quite large notches. I think on the Pixel, I've seen the Pixel 3. That's quite a large one. It seems quite distorting on the device for me. Obviously, it bends round. It bends round well when you're talking with videos and stuff. But I found that a little bit of a distraction because my eyesight's so focal, straightforward. It's sort of like a distraction. Obviously, having built-in fingerprint sensors, once you know where they are, and it's quite a bright light as well when it lights up, especially on the Samsung S10 range and on the Huawei P30 range. It's actually quite a bright light when it lights up to identify where it is. Obviously, when we had previous models like the Honor View 20, it's on the back. It's quite a tactile location. It's quite feelable and you know where it is. On devices such as the Sony Xperia 10 and the, I'm just trying to think of the model, Samsung Galaxy SE, where it's on the side, I feel like they're not quite the right position for me because it feels slightly odd. It doesn't feel like you're being more secure. I don't know if you have the same feeling with that.
I haven't used the Samsung S10e, or I played with it very briefly at MWC this year. But I will say that, yes, I agree. Having a tactile fingerprint reader is definitely something that is important. I struggled with the Honor 10, the Huawei Honor 10, because the front of the device didn't clearly indicate where that fingerprint reader was. And I myself find myself picking the phone up upside down and pressing on the notch, expecting it to unlock the screen for me. It was quite a confusing experience. But I'd say that was almost the only downside of the Honor 10. It was a great device overall, apart from that one thing is the ultrasonic fingerprint reader, which was never as good as a dedicated one on the back.
No.
Some devices on some devices you can use the fingerprint scanner as like a trackpad. Do you ever use that? Does it help accessibility, Ricky?
I've used it where it shows you your notifications. Like on some devices, you can swipe down on it slightly to bring up your notifications. And that's the only usage I've actually used in it. I know that feature is possible. And when I've gone to show it on some devices, it hasn't worked because it's the Google Pixel that has that option. The Google Pixel, it doesn't work overly that well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't like to promote something to someone and say, oh, use this, this is fantastic, because it's not going to actually be beneficial to them. I'd rather be open and honest and say, maybe just it's there, but it's up to you if you use it. I'd like to promote something that works really well and it's going to really help everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's I guess it's another option that people can try out and see if it works for them.
There are so many options on the device, and I don't think people realize how many options are there until you actually come across and actually potentially need it, or you know someone that does use them.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, then. So I think we've covered the core of accessibility. We could go over on this for hours on end. Are you feeling like competing with Vlad Savov of The Verge, Ricky?
I can carry on going, or if you're finished.
No, that's great. We'll carry on going then. So, Ricky, let's move this on to a bit more of a travel-related thing.
Yeah.
We were both in Paris. We've bumped into each other, have met around the circuit of tech bloggers, journalists, and influencers. Tell me how your travel experience to Paris was. How did you find Paris itself and getting there?
So travel for me is interesting. I like to travel. I don't mind traveling. So if I travel via Eurostar, I will obviously let the company know whoever I'm traveling with. The PR company will normally ask, do you need any help? They know me quite well now, and obviously they know I have a visual impairment. And they will say what help I will need. And I'll say, oh, I need assistance either for an airport or on the Eurostar. So going out was very simple, very easy. It was all running to time. and very nice. That's easy. Transport to the hotel is great. They ask if I need a hand anywhere. As again, we know each other. A lot of people, we mix in the same circles. I believe when you get in these circles, it's a lot of the same people that you get to know. And obviously, they know that I'm visually impaired, and then will always ask if I need help. But obviously, I then know if I need to ask them for help, I know that they're there, which is nice. I get to keep my independence. So I'm a very independent person. I don't mind traveling on my own if I have to, because I use a white cane that will help me guide me around. Obviously in Paris, that's quite hard to use because it's quite cobbly. It sticks all the time. The pavements are very weird. They do have a traffic light system and a pelican crossing system. The traffic doesn't like to follow the rules. We was crossing the road. Luckily, I was with someone, and just a bus decided to come through. There was a red light, and it's interesting going to these different countries. Some countries are really good, really helpful. Berlin are really good. I found them superb. But coming back, obviously, there was major delays and major issues. So luckily for me, I was in the queues with everyone, but I had my cane out. I was sat with our tech bloggers and our follow friends, tech and influencers. And luckily, a security officer saw me and saw my white cane and said, "Oh, come with me." And I thought I'd done something seriously wrong. I thought,
there goes Ricky. He's being again.
I thought I was in serious trouble, but no. What they'd done was they pulled me aside, they checked my passport, took me through security, and got me on a train earlier than everyone else, which was really nice. I really appreciate that. They sort of said, "Oh, you don't need to stand in the queue and stuff." So it's nice in that aspect. It's a little bit easier for me to go through. I'm not actually all shoulder to shoulder bumping people, and it's a little bit more easier. And then I got on an earlier train, and I was actually back home reading about people still standing in the queue, and I did feel quite bad. At that point, I beat all the PR people home. I beat everyone home. I was like, I'd actually travelled on the Eurostar, travelled home, which is a good 40-minute ride as well from London. And I was sat reading that people were still sat in that security line. I did feel a tiny bit bad.
So whilst you were making your way home, I was walking around Paris planting bananas.
So that sounds fun. That sounds more fun than actually still standing in queues.
Yes, the French, I don't think, are very good at queuing. That's just a generalization I'm making up on the spot, but it seems to not be a national sport as we like to consider it here in the UK.
As an outsider, I can confirm Brits are fantastic at queuing. So that's one thing, I always respected here.
It's noticeable at events we've all been to when there's usually a contingent of people at an event checking into their hotel. The British contingent is very good at being in a queue, waiting to check in, getting everything done in a queue. Then the Italians arrive, and it's just free for all. It's very amusing. And we again in Paris, Ricky, we were in the same hotel as the Italians. It was quite amusing to see the different groups milling around the lobby and the different arrangements for travel.
Yeah, no, it's interesting with these events. I do feel sorry for the PR people because it's a lot of people to maneuver around to get sorted and stuff. But just people are so impatient. They'll seem to step over you. I've been at events before when we've been told to get here at a certain time. And obviously I've used my cane as well to help me guide through. This was back in Ether in Berlin. I can remember an event. And then all of a sudden these doors had to open, but all of a sudden everyone just pushed past you and sort of like, it was a rush to try and get a seat for a press conference, I think. And it was just unbelievable. It's like a herd of wildebeest trying to get out of the way of a lion. I just found it so interesting that people, I don't know, we'd been queuing them, English had been queuing them in queue, we'd received our press passes and received everything we needed to receive. Then people just come pushing past you and expect. It does make me laugh, and it is interesting to see as well, because obviously from a British side point of view, we love the queue for no reason at all. We'll just stand in the queue for the sake of the queue.
Yes, if you see a queue, why not get in it and make some friends?
Yeah.
On the subject of Paris, actually, I follow one of the YouTubers, Molly Burke, who is a blind YouTuber. She's from the US, and she was recently in Paris. She's Canadian, but she lives in LA now, I believe,
Yes.
and she traveled there on like a trip of her dreams, and she wanted to experience a lot of the things, a lot of the monuments and Mona Lisa and stuff. Can you tell us about how you experience monuments or museums? Do you ever get a chance, and do you get any help in there?
So when I travel, I go to all different places, and I'm a person that likes to have experiences and like go and experience everything no matter what. So when I go to Paris, I've been to the Arc de Triomphe. I went and looked at this. It's a famous archway that you can go and see. I've been to the Eiffel Tower. I've been up the Eiffel Tower again. Whereas if you went up there, you could see for miles. I can only see for a certain bit. I can't even see the ground when I look at the ground. I'll take a photograph. It's about taking photographs of everything that just reminds you so much of your experience. Because when you look at a photograph when you come home, okay, like myself, I've got some vision to look at, and I know Molly has quite low vision. I have seen her videos before, and I admire her for going and doing it. I really do. And I love traveling so much, and I just travel in my own way and do my things my own way, which like you would as well. But obviously where you get to see it, when it comes to museums, sometimes there's an audio descriptive tour, which can be really good, or you could get a tour guide to actually take you around and show you and then give you information as well. So that's one good thing. And then obviously when you go to somewhere in the UK, they're a little bit more helpful as well. It depends on the country you go to, that are more accessible and understand different disabilities. They will tell you what services they have on offer, which is either an audio description on a tape or a guided tour. Obviously, a lot of artwork and famous artwork you can't go and touch and feel to identify, but obviously a description from someone is more beneficial to you than actually seeing it as well, I believe, which is good.
That's actually fascinating. The fact that photography helps you, and the fact that you can take photos, hundreds and thousands of photos now, compared to 24 or however many on the film, just like 10 years ago, or even fewer. It's amazing how technology can help you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that's in my library at the moment, my photo library, without actually putting on the last set of Android devices that I'm talking from 2019, was 19,000 photos.
Mm-hmm.
Photos, and people are like so scared, like, oh, why have you got so many photos? Well, I take a photograph of everything I go and experience. I take a photograph so I get to keep their memories. Obviously, you can only store so much in your head and so much information, but when you look at a photograph, it sort of comes back from your deep memory, and you remember that place, you remember that fun time that you had, or you remember seeing that certain thing that you really go and enjoy. So like I said to you, I like certain experiences. I'm up for anything. I'm the type of person that will sort of go for anything. I'm looking for the next fun thing to do. Like this year, I want to do a skydive, and people said to me, oh, you're not going to get any enjoyment out of it. And I will. It'll be the passion and the fun of just going and doing a skydive, just be unreal, and I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, Molly Berg did that a few months ago, and she loved it. I had the chance to do it as well, and I highly recommend. If you are up to it, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah, no, definitely, I will do it.
And you did it in style, Lukasz. You did it in Dubai with a dedicated cameraman.
It was an amazing experience. So yeah, highly recommend it. But on the subject of photos, do you find wide angle useful as well? You said your peripheral vision is impaired.
Yeah.
So are you finding like wide angle on the new Huawei or LG phones useful?
Yeah, and definitely when I went to the stadiums, I was taking wide angles, or wherever I've been taking a wide angle shot, because obviously the wide angles now are really improving. You get to see so much in your view, which is really fun as well. Again, it gives you more of that space. You feel more immersed in that picture because you're getting a bigger surround sort of sound. I take a lot of panographic pictures as well. where you can get quite a lot of it in as well as the wide mode. But obviously with the S10 as well and the S10 Plus have quite a large wide angled lens. I haven't got a chance to use, is that on the LG G8 with the new Pano, with the new wide one?
I'm not sure, but I think Samsung has one of the widest 0.5, Huawei is 0.6, and Samsung is wider, so it definitely must be good.
Yeah, no, I've used the Samsung one, and again, it's very impressive. You can get so much in your shot, so you can never miss a moment, which I think is really cool, that you can just store them images, and then you can go back and look through them, or you can make audio, not an audio book, but you can make books, you can print them off as well. I know a lot of people print off books, or they print off the pictures to have on their wall. I mainly just have them on my computer, because then I can put them on a large display, and I can really enjoy it, and that's how I relive my experiences in life.
That's really interesting. Actually, I didn't know. Are there like built into software? You can print out books now.
Yes. Yeah. There's multiple different sort of. Apple have their own, or you can go online and there's multiple different books that you can just upload your images to, and you can print them out, and then you can sort of relive their memories in a book, and you can show everyone.
Yeah, I've had them years ago, but I didn't know that people build this into software. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's built into dedicated software, or even apps now that are available on iOS and Androids you can use, which I think is a great feature for people potentially that they just want to show off their pictures in a different form factor, or just to experience their memories again.
Fantastic.
Great. Let's see. In terms of flying, how do you find that experience, Ricky?
This is an interesting one. Flying is interesting. They are very good on the English side. When I fly from England, it's when I fly from a foreign country, I seem to come across issues. For instance, when we went to Amsterdam with Huawei, I believe, yes, with Huawei, they wouldn't allow me off the aeroplane. I was refused, not allowed to step off the aeroplane because there was a certain amount of steps or something. I wasn't allowed to go down the steps. I had to wait for a wheelchair and go down in a specialized lift and then taken to the gate. This is very frustrating to me, because if I'm able and willing to go down the steps with my cane or with a guide or an assistant, I should be allowed to. But when I was plain refused by the staff and the cabin crew, that I found very annoying. And then in foreign countries, they always believe anyone that needs assistance needs a wheelchair. And I find this very, very frustrating and very down-putting to anyone. It's going to like inhibit their confidence, and all they want is help through the airport and help through assistant. If someone is wheelchair bound and does need wheelchair help, that's fine. I understand that. But when you are willing and able and capable of walking through an airport, yes, I've got my cane, but I could just hold on to someone's arm. They could guide me through. That's a lot better than putting me in a wheelchair. I find that very derogative. And I find it very, I don't know, I just feel like my confidence goes.
Okay, no, that's very interesting. Obviously, different markets have different regulations about what minimum standards of accessibility are, what also has to be done, and that makes travel, especially in the accessibility sphere, a very diverse experience.
Yeah.
Even within a few hundred miles of each other, things can be completely different.
Yeah, like in America, I know for a fact that most people have to go in a wheelchair, because I think they're so scared of a lawsuit, and everyone has to go in a wheelchair, which I understand. But like I've just said there in my previous point, if you're willing and able and capable of following someone or getting guided assistance by someone, then you should be given that option instead of being forced into a wheelchair.
I agree. No, that's interesting. What are you, someone who follows the sort of aircraft industry, and do you choose any travel based on what plane you'll be getting on?
I do look, obviously I've got family in Los Angeles, so I do travel to Los Angeles at least once a year. And majority of the time I go with British Airways. I did go with American Airlines before, and they were quite rude. They were quite just not, I don't think, well taught as what BA was. British Airways seemed to be really good, really helpful, and I've had several flights with them now where I feel very comfortable, to the point of, obviously, I get to choose my dedicated seat. I get help. Obviously, I'm not shown a video of like the safety briefing. They come and give it to me personally, whereas American Airlines, just nothing. They knew that I was visually impaired, but I just got nothing at all, which is unsafe because that was an aircraft that I'd never been on. Hopefully, touch wood, never going to have an accident, but you never know. And I think everyone should be taught these briefings just in case. Obviously, I can read the books that are in there because I can bring them up close to my face. But obviously, I wasn't even told anything, any basic information. Because normally when a visually impaired person gets on an airplane, they're told how many seats are to the toilets, how many seats there are to the exits. They're taught where the buttons are, like by touch. They'll sort of show you with your hand. They'll just point your hand up to the sort of console at the top. Or if you have a remote next to you, they'll show you which ones it is. Otherwise, generally, I find with a lot of brands from the UK, and again, because they're UK based, I feel like they know what they should be doing, and they do it quite well.
That's a good point. And when you travel, whether it's by train, by car, by plane, what is in your bag? What do you take with you when traveling, apart from your smartphone, or plural smartphones?
Yeah, I'm known for taking multiple smartphones, which can be fun with security, especially when I walk up with my white cane as well. It can be quite interesting. They do take a second look at you. I've had people say behind me, well, he's looked at you like 4 times. Why? You've got 5 smartphones in your pocket. But no, when I travel, mainly is I use my iPad Pro, because obviously I can use the movie section on there, the iMovie section, and obviously keyboard connected to it, so I can stay up with social media. I will have a Sony pair of headphones, which I absolutely love, which are the MK3s, with the noise cancellation. They're absolutely fantastic. I found them really enjoyable to use currently. I will carry around my MacBook Pro depending if I need to work on anything serious. And then obviously camera-wise, I'm currently in the lookout for a new camera to use as a dedicated camera. But otherwise, the smartphones take such great shots anyway. I just carry a smartphone around with me now instead of lugging around a big camera. And then obviously bunches of cables, charging cables. It's nice having a device that's reverse wireless charging as well, so you can charge up everything if you so want to. And mainly just little bits that I might need. I do carry the odd notebook and pen to jot down a note if nothing's working technology-wise, or you're not allowed to use technology in certain events I've been to where you're told everything must go away. You have to go back to the old form factor of pen and pencil. That's about it, really. I don't overly take a lot with me. I try to keep it as little as possible.
Very good. And what is your bag itself? What's your preferred bag?
I use a tool bag, THULE. I use one of their bags, and it's just, I think theirs is I don't know the name of it. It's a tech bag. So it has loads of different pockets, has loads of different areas, loads of different security sort of parts on it that keeps it nice and secure for me whenever I travel. That's normally a rucksack bag type of bag.
Very good. It's an interesting trend that we've noticed on the Tech Travel Geeks podcast. A lot of our guests like bags with lots of separate pockets for both having a sort of separation of their devices and accessories and cables, but also for redundancy, because you can have the same type of cable in 2 different pockets and still feel as if you're covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Lukasz,
I have a very, very important question from our very good friend Peter Holden. He is asking if anyone had any Five Guys recently.
I know exactly why he's saying that. Goodbye,
guys. There is background to that. I believe that stems back all the way to MWC this year. Is that right, Ricky?
Yeah. Me, Sam Pullen, and Peter, we all went and found our Five Guys. We were still hungry. Obviously, we've been given posh food that didn't really consist of much food at all. So we went and found Five Guys. It was quite enjoyable.
Was that after the evening event, or was that another one?
I think it was after the evening event. I think it's where I met you and we was having tapas.
Yes, that was a fantastic event, and we very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Though the environment was a bit dark.
Yes.
It was a good evening, good social get together.
Oh yeah, it's always fun. It's always nice to go and meet these people. And like I said, once you get in the circles, it does seem to be the similar sort of same people that they have. They do change them now and again depending on the different devices you have. And also I learned as well, they don't just have tech, they have your dedicated journalists as well that write for newspapers and news sort of outlets. And then also you have lifestyle vloggers as well, which do the photographs and the Instagram and stuff like that. So they do look after so many different people, and they do every event I've been on to. They do a great job to make sure that we're all fed and watered and housed correctly. I really take their hat off to them because it's not an easy job.
Yes, it's actually very challenging. I'm amazed by how well we were looked after, in particular in Paris recently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good because they helped us not only get there and looked after us there, but they also helped us get all the relevant information and previews of devices if necessary. The devices themselves helped us a lot. And you were in the same hotel as I was. The internet in the hotel was amazing.
Yes, yeah. I've been quite fortunate this year. I've been to Paris twice, Amsterdam, Barcelona. So I've traveled quite a bit, and I've been quite fortunate when I travel. Luckily for me, I'm on the 3 network, so I can get to use Feel at Home. And then obviously my other data SIM is from EE, and you're allowed a certain amount of usage. But otherwise, in the hotel, majority of the time, you get really good internet speeds, and that's the main thing. As a journalist and as someone that needs to keep up with all the local social media and everything going on and rumors, you need to keep on top of everything. If you're 2 minutes behind, you're behind. That's it, you're behind.
Yeah, Lukasz and I felt the pain because I didn't make my way back to the hotel and to dinner the evening of the launch of the P30 Pro. I was still at the convention center, and it took almost 3 hours to upload our unboxing.
Oh.
Which was a painful experience, but
yeah,
I was in good company. Let's put it that way.
That's good.
Yeah, we had a good time, and I think the overall the P30 Pro was a great product that we all really appreciate. It's not the perfect product; it's as close as we've seen so far in the last few years, and that camera is amazing.
I believe with the P20 Pro, they've done such a good job. Obviously, they've changed the that super spectrum or the special spectrum sensor now. And yes, it's really good that it's changed. So it's first generation for me. It's a first generation sensor. So it means it's always going to get better. But the P20 Pro was such a great device in the camera ability. I think it's hard to actually come up to that standard, then go past it. It has done in some aspects. And then some people are saying in other aspects, it hasn't. Obviously, in my photographs, I've been very pleased with what I've managed to take as a visually impaired person. And like you said, I've managed to get some good shots, which I'm pleased of. But I believe it's on the right path. And I think with the next iteration of it, we're going to see more improvements. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I've got a feeling that they've used the same sort of camera technology in this as what they've put in the Mate X as well.
That will be awesome because we haven't heard much about the Mate X's cameras.
No,
that may be the dark night that they haven't shown us in proper use yet. But if the Mate X has say a P30 Pro camera in it, it's quite a boom factor.
Yes, it is, and obviously I was very lucky to hold one, play around with one, and first of all, it's quite terrifying holding a device that costs that much amount of money. That was the first. Some people took some photographs of me holding it, and I look absolutely terrified holding this device. But on the other hand, it is a very well-made device. Obviously, again, it's generation 1. Again, we're going to see improvements because both Huawei and Samsung are saying this isn't the end. It's not a gimmick. Foldable devices will come in. Obviously, we've seen foldable devices at MWC by multiple different companies. I would still say it is more a gimmicky thing. I don't think it's going to last forever. I just don't think the technology is there yet to make it last forever. I still think we'll still have our normal size sort of smartphones, they're quite squarish, rectangled, 6.4 inch, 6.5 inch sort of device. I think that'll be around for a lot longer to come yet. What do you think?
Well, I think it will. If anything, foldable or, in my view, rollable screens are the future. If they can improve the technology to the point where it's not a fold and it's a roll, I think that will be a bigger thing. And I think that at that point, once you have a roll, whether that's built into the sleeving of your sleeve of your clothing, or it's a roll you carry around with you and unroll to use as a tablet, that's the future. And that means that smartphones will maybe start becoming a bit smaller again.
Yeah, and
because one of the things that, in my view, stopped phones from becoming large for so long was the iPad and the generation of tablets. The moment tablet sales started cooling a little and phones became bigger, that's what killed off tablets, as in people like having a slightly bigger screen that's easier to read, easier to use, and easier to interact with.
Yeah.
Have you picked up an older phone recently, a smaller one, and tried typing on it or tried using Google Talkback on it?
Yes, I've got behind me, there's some phones just over my shoulder. I don't know if it's in shot, but I've got old generations of iPhones, mainly because obviously my Android devices are majority of loan devices, because I started off with an iPhone. That was my first choice. And I was sucked into that Apple bubble, and I am trying to slowly pop my way out of that bubble now. But I pulled out an iPhone and it had a 4.5 inch display, and it was absolutely horrible to use. It was just it was all chins and bezels, and it was like, oh wow, was this what we actually used? And I was like, oh no, give me my large keyboard, give me my large display, give me, do you know what I mean? Just give me that ease of use. And it is difficult when you look at technology, because when I first started, my first mobile phone was a Nokia 3310. So when I look at that.
So would you say foldable phones would help you as a visually impaired person? Would they, because would the size be the main improvement for you, or do you see any other ways where it could help?
I think obviously no one has really got hands-on with the Samsung Fold yet. But with the Samsung Fold, it has a 4.6 inch display, which I think is too small. When it opens up, it opens up to a large display, which would be good, which means majority of the time I'd have to be opening up this device and look at that larger display all the time. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Huawei Mate X is quite large in its standard form factor as a mobile phone. That, again, is really good. But then when you open it up, it becomes that large form factor, which is really good for movies. But when we was actually shown a movie, it's actually shown quite big blocks at the top and the bottom. I think video needs to be updated so that can change and improve. Obviously, that will come with Android and EMUI. That's just software updates, and that's quite simple to do. But for me, it'd be really good if I need to see like a map. Say I'm in a foreign country and I'm a little bit lost, as I can be sometimes. If I open it up and see a large map, that's going to be so much easier to read than whatever it is on a smaller device, or like a 6.4 inch device. If I have an 8 inch sort of tablet or a 7 inch tablet, it makes it easier. It does make it easier, and I'm looking forward to it. But the price points do scare me with them, because obviously they are fairly large, and obviously I understand it's generation 1. A lot of R&D has gone into it, and a lot of money have gone into it, so they need to make that back. But I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming in the future. I know other brands are working on stuff. I did look at the LG G8 that had this fold-out display as well. It had like the case. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
That case where it has a separate application, which is really good. And again, you can use that then to see two different things at the same time, and you can really do quite good sort of productivity with that one. I found that was more great for productivity. Instead of having a larger display, you could actually get more done with that device.
Yeah, and cost-wise, both it should go down as generations go past. Plus, you wouldn't need the iPad anymore because it would be almost as big as an iPad. So probably this should save you some money as well.
Yeah, that's one less device that I have to carry around, which is a bonus for me. It's a bonus for my back. And obviously, it saves me buying 2 devices. It really does. And obviously, if it's moving that way in the market, that's a fantastic way. I'm looking forward to seeing what other companies are coming up. Loads of companies are, like I said, jumping on this bandwagon of a foldable display. I just don't think the screen technology is quite there yet. When that's improved, I think that's where we'll see majority of people sort of change and adapt to that display.
Yeah, some exciting times ahead of us.
Oh, yes.
Very good. So is maybe something like LinkedIn going to work on one of those big foldable tablets?
It's, yeah, not too sure with that one.
Maybe they'll ban it. Sorry, I'm just dealing with some incoming LinkedIn spam. So great, Ricky. It was great having you on. Obviously, you mentioned your YouTube channel. Where can people find that?
So if you just search for, my channel name is TechTalk UK 1. If you search for that, you're going to see my face, I believe it is. I put my face on the sort of the actual YouTube sort of channel page, and then obviously my banner will have Tech Talk, and that's where I mainly am. But all my video content goes on there, and then obviously I have Instagram, Facebook page, and Twitter, which is all UK Tech Talk, and one might be one, or one might be just UK Tech Talk. So obviously someone's stolen my other angle. Now I am on all social media, and they're all linked as well. If you get onto one, you'll see the links for every other one.
Excellent. So Twitter and YouTube are the best places for people to follow you and subscribe to your service.
Yeah.
And where do you have a separate website you write on, or is YouTube and Twitter your 2 main channels?
No, YouTube and Twitter are my 2 main outlets. I did have a website, but obviously I'm not 100% great on website management. I wasn't too sure what I was doing. So what I want to do is write articles for people and become freelance. And obviously I've spoken to yourself, I've spoken to other people about writing articles, and I think people are interested in that. So if anyone does want me to write an article for them on products I test and review, I'd be more than happy to sort of talk to people and hopefully do that.
That's great. With our massive budgets now that Tech Travel Geeks are monetized here on YouTube, we might be able to afford you in 15 years' time.
I was going to say you've got the lulls at the beginning of the year. Maybe September, October, November, it seems to improve. Well,
no, we've been sort of constantly improving. Tech Travel Geeks has only been around for just over a year. Yeah. And I think, Lukasz, congratulations are in order, especially to yourself, for all the hard work editing videos and putting drone footage into everything, every phone review we seem to have done. Because we have been growing in the year that we've got, and we have to thank all our subscribers. Those of you listening to the Tech Travel Geeks podcast now, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's from the audio version, which we release usually quite a while later, we would like to thank you for subscribing to us and listening to us, and also reading our content on our website. Because this, which started off as just a bit of fun when I was working from Singapore and messaging Lukasz from there, has really grown into something that we're quite proud of. And yes, Ricky, we would love to have you contribute some content, whether in written or video form, or just to have you back on the Tech Travel Geeks podcast to geek out with us.
Oh yeah,
that'd be great.
I can talk about technology. Okay. I don't think I've quite broken the record, but I can talk about technology. I'm quite happy.
And you seem to have one of the best internet connections our guests have had in the past.
Oh, that's not bad. It's Sky. I'm surprised.
Is it fiber?
It's fiber, but it's only 40 meg. So
okay, that's decent. The upload with that is pretty good for the speed.
5.
Well, that's better than many.
Yeah, it's 40 download, 5 upload.
That's a decent connection, more than enough.
But no, I'd be more than happy to come back. I like talking about technology, or I can write an article.
Good. And will you be at IFA this year? Is that in your plans?
I believe so. Even if it's self-funded, I will be. But if not, hopefully a brand might like to sponsor me. Anyone listening? Hints, and wink, wink.
I think Lukasz and I are in the planning phase at this point. We're speaking to friends of the Tech Travel Geeks and beyond to try and make IFA 2019 happen. I believe this is going to be a very exciting year. IFA covers a lot more than just mobile.
Yes, I was quite lucky. I went to IFA last year for my first time. I've done MWC, so I've ticked 2 of the big tech things. The next one is CES. I enjoyed IFA a lot more than what I did Mobile World Congress, because obviously the phones were locked down, so you can't really get great amount of tech, like hands-on sort of. You can look at them, but I found it very hard to film any content and actually find it enjoyable to film content with it, because obviously you had people pushing you out the way with other tripods and everything like that. So it's a bit of a sword fight, I found it, in a way, to try and sort of get content there. But I found IFA, you get more interview time, you can get your interviews in, and you can sort of get that more sort of sorted, which is good.
It's also, I'd say, IFA's a more structured, more pleasant environment in terms of the trade show floors.
Yes. When they are built, though, that is the only issue.
Yes. If you're press and you're there the week before, not so good, especially if you're walking around with a...
Yes, I was, and people said to me, fair play to me walking around, but obviously I had interviews in different sections with different companies, and it was interesting, to put it that way.
I'm sure it was. Well, we'll be there, so hopefully we'll be able to team up,
definitely.
And all the usual suspects as well. That was great having you on. We'll link to everything in the show notes, both on YouTube and in the podcast show notes once it's edited and published. So thanks for joining us, Ricky.
No, thank you very much to both yourself and Lukasz. I really enjoyed that.
Great. And if you're keeping an eye on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel, we've recently released quite a few videos about the Huawei P30 Pro. We have the original unboxing from the day of the launch in Paris. We have our first impressions video, which seems to be very, very popular. Lukasz does a great job editing that. And then we have an unboxing of the Smart View case for the Huawei P30 Pro, which is now the main case on my device. And as of earlier today, Lukasz published the Aurora P30 Pro unboxing. This is the UK retail unit. A word of warning to those of you purchasing the device from Amazon. Amazon erroneously up to today had advertised it as the dual SIM device on Amazon if you're purchasing the 128 gigabyte storage, 8 gigabyte RAM model. And we were very disappointed to find out that Lukasz's model, as lovely it is as it is in Aurora, was not the dual SIM model. It was single SIM. And when we put a SIM card in the nano memory card slot, it wasn't picked up. So sad news. Lukasz is stuck with just one SIM card in one phone.
I'm fine. I've got one SIM is enough for me, but the device is so nice. I played with the night mode last night, and it's just another level. So yeah, really, really good. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure talking again. Matteo, where can people find you?
As well as on techtravelgeeks.com and seeing my ugly mug on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Todoleo. And you can join my LinkedIn network if I don't filter you out as spam. How about you, Lukasz?
I'm on Twitter under Elsuliga, and I'm mostly on Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. So come and see our videos there.
Excellent. So thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching if you're watching on YouTube. Good night from us.
Bye-bye.